Let's go, Brian Farnsworth. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Breakaway podcast. Happy Monday morning. Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Oh, there's no better way to start your week than a little Breakaway podcast. Dive into what happened this weekend in sports and talk a little bit about what you can look forward to this week. I know something I am looking forward to. America Fest, baby. It is the week.
This is Finally. This is America Fest week.
I can't believe it. Seriously, it's crazy. I feel like, wasn't it just January?
Oh my gosh.
What are we talking about that we're in December now and that it is the week of America Fest? If you haven't gotten tickets yet, you can still get single day tickets. You don't have to go the whole time. You probably should. It's going to be incredible because we have some amazing athletes like I know we posted about. Super Bowl champion Steve Weatherford's going to be there from the New York Giants. He's been on the show before. I can't wait to chat with him. Michael Chandler's going to be there. We got huge speakers, and we got country artists. Promo code John, Jon, 25% off. What do you got?
Well, and John is going to be hosting an athlete panel where he's going to be talking to conservative athletes, and it's going to be absolutely can't miss. I mean, to have these guys up in front of a crowd of thousands of people, going to be freaking electric.
I can't wait to, because you get some of those big-time stars like Michael Chandler, Steve Weatherford, Cameron Haynes. We're going to have a very candid, open, honest conversation about what's going on in sports. And I can't wait.
I can't wait to see Steve and Michael interacting with each other. That's going to be great.
Dude, two just absolute badasses. It's going to be fun. But we got a great show for you today. Obviously, we're going to talk about the NFL. A lot of games yesterday. There was a lot of blowouts. There was a lot of almost comebacks there too. We're going to break that down for you. We got college football, and we got for the very first time, Annie Sobo is also too. Sobo, her last name might have changed last name because she just got married. So we're going to break that down too, but she is a University of Michigan grad, and she's a host for the Big Ten Network. So she's going to join us and talk about what she thought about basically the Heisman Trophy ceremony. I thought that was fantastic. That was a lot of fun. And if you haven't heard the news, we'll tell you who won. The whole breakdown of the voting. Then we got some NBA, and then Tiger Woods is coming back, baby. And we're going to break that down with Terryn Gregson, former PGA Tour host, producer, and reporter. Oh, that's going to be a lot.
Can't wait.
Oh, yeah. So let's start with this. The NFL. I'm going to ask you this question, Brian Farnsworth, and I feel like we've been talking about this quite a bit on the program. Are the Kansas City Chiefs back?
I'll be saying the same thing I've said to you for 4 weeks, and yes, they are back. However, this is the first time that it felt like the offense was back. They've been doing this with defense, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs on both offense and defense, they were pissed off. They were pissed off because before the game started, the Oakland Raiders went out onto the logo of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Disrespect.
So much disrespect. And they took that personally, and they laid an absolute beatdown on the Raiders. To the point where I'm now considering the Raiders, they might have to blow this entire thing up because you should be that embarrassed by that loss.
Yeah, that was one of the worst losses the Raiders have had in their history of the franchise. Mm-hmm. They lost 48-9. They got just shellac.
Yeah.
They got lambasted, and every single synonym of that. I mean, the score was 35-3 at halftime. It's one of those where you almost say, all right, guys, this isn't our day. Do you just wave the white flag and just get the hell out of there?
Yeah. It's the most points the Chiefs have put up in 2 seasons. Basically, you took a Chiefs team that couldn't move the ball, and now granted they've been a lot better since Clyde Edwards-Helaire came back healthy. It's funny how
a lot of people don't talk about that either. Like that was a huge gap in their offense, and they just looked fairly inept for a little while.
Yeah. And basically, you allowed a team that couldn't get their offensive engines churning. You let them come back, and now it's like, oh no, are the Chiefs starting to peak at the right time? Because they're gonna the Chargers maybe could push the division on them a little bit, make them question. But I think it's inevitable right now that the Chiefs are going to win this division.
Yeah. So the Chiefs are on a 6-game win streak right now, and I think there's a part of me that I will say the Chiefs are back. I did tweet that out. I said Chiefs are back, 100%. You have a big win like this, but you do have to remember that they've played the Oakland Raiders, no longer Oakland Raiders, the Vegas Raiders. Gosh, I get so stuck on that because I was born in the Bay Area, so I've grown up with them for so long. But the Las Vegas Raiders, so they beat them 48-9 yesterday, and then 3 games ago they beat them 41-14. So in all these games, so this win streak, you got a 20-17 win against the Giants. You got a 13-7 win over the Packers. You got a 41-14 win over the Raiders, like I mentioned. 19-9 over the Cowboys. 22-9 over the Broncos, and then they just gave up 9 points again yesterday. Mm-hmm. So like you said, the defense looks good. And like I've said before, defense wins championships, but we need to see the Chiefs' offense perform like they performed yesterday. But finally, they had everybody back.
Yep.
And still, I am harboring a lot of anger for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce from the week prior because they laid an absolute egg, and now I'm on the outside looking in one of my fantasy football.
Oof.
Gosh, it's the worst. It's tough, but I think the Chiefs are back, and they're putting up points. Defense looks good. Yikes! That's a scary looking team. Tom Brady. Always got to talk about Tom Brady.
Always.
All he does is win. That they were up. That was one of those games where the team was up big.
Yeah.
And then the Bills found their way back. But Brady, so that game ended in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Bills came out with the ball, did nothing with it. Brady gets it, and then he throws a 58-yard absolute dime to Rashard Perryman and takes it to the house. So Brady threw for 363 yards, 3 total touchdowns. W.
Yeah, no, this was my favorite, statistic or whatever you want to call it from the game was, remember we had that really weird Monday Night Football game a week ago where it was Patriots versus Bills, and the Patriots threw the ball 3 times totally. It felt like the Bills and Josh Allen came out and were like, you know what, we're going to do the anti-Bill Belichick. And they did not hand the ball off once in the first half of that Bills Buccaneers game. They ran it 4 times, but that's because Josh Allen himself, it was designed quarterback runs that he ran it himself. How can you – this is what blows my mind. The Bills came into the season of like they were supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. They had a great 2020 season, and they're a very talented roster. They're a good team.
I mean,
Don't get me wrong.
After week 6, I thought it was going to be Bills-Rams Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was your prediction.
Yeah, I was saying that both these teams look good. Bills look great, and then they've started to flounder.
This is one of the least balanced offenses I have ever seen. Josh Allen's great, and they have really incredible receivers, but if you can't run the ball, especially in winter, you are not – I mean, they're a cold-weather team. They're Buffalo. They're the city of O.J. Simpson, and they can't run the ball?
No, you got to be able to sustain drives, too, because in the first half, they only had 6 possessions. That's it. You can't win football games like that. You have to sustain drives, and also they are 0-5 in one-score games.
Oh, that's bad.
So when you go against someone like Tom Brady's tough to beat, especially when you got those one-score games, those tight games, whatever it may be. Josh Allen needs to get a big W, and he hasn't done it yet this year.
No. I'm trying to think, and yeah, they're a 7-6 team now. Basically, I mean, and with how the AFC is, I mean, that's a really, really tight wild card hunt. It is not absurd to think, now that they're riding a 2-game losing streak, it's not absurd to think that they might not even make the playoffs. Now, I don't know what their upcoming schedule looks like. Maybe they got a couple cake, matchups that they're going to be able to rack up some wins, but like the AFC playoff picture is not it's not defined yet. They could very much lose out on this season.
Because if we're talking about the playoff picture right now, we're looking at the AFC. So Patriots are obviously number 1. And before we actually get into that playoff picture, what I was thinking with the Bills, so what Josh Allen had to say after the game was this loss can really pull a team together. I think it can. Don't get me wrong. I think it could, and it could potentially be like I know what you're reading on the screen right now. We put this script together, and I'm just like, well, this could be their Patriots moment. So when the Patriots lost to the Bucs, that's when they just took off.
Yeah,
and it was a good loss for them.
Oh, that was a tight game.
I hate talking about just a good loss, but they can't. You can't have good losses, and I think this could be. But the playoff picture that we're looking at right now, you got the Patriots at 9-4. They're balling out, and you got the Titans at number 2. Titans, I still just don't trust. at all.
Yeah, now they are starting to get healthy again. Julio Jones just came back off the IR, and then A.J. Brown will get healthy. And they're even talking about, because I think the Titans will make the playoffs, and they're talking about Derrick Henry could make it back for playoffs. And if you can get healthy at the right time, this is a team they've been treading water, but they've been staying alive. Mm-hmm. And they've done enough to win games. They've done enough to stay on top of their division. If they can make it to playoffs and then get healthy, that is the last team I would want to face in the AFC.
Yeah, and then the Patriots, who they got next, they got the Colts. That's a huge game for them. They got to get that dub. So another division leader, Titans, like we were talking about, they got the Steelers next. Steelers randomly looked good in the second half of that game. Like Big Ben was coming back. They actually should have won that game. It dropped a.
That's what we see so often with these teams get up big, and then I feel like they take the foot off the gas. So I wouldn't read too much into the Steelers coming back in that game, especially when you got numbnuts like Chase Claypool doing shenanigans on the field anyway. So it's like I wouldn't think too much about
I know
Steelers.
that's something I tweeted out too, and we're going to bring in Annie in just a second to talk about college football and get a breakdown of the college football playoff, everything. But as we wrap up the NFL here, I tweeted out Larry Fitzgerald, what he did a few years ago.
Last season.
No, it was last season. Yeah. Last season when D-Hop got a pass at the end of the game, he just took it from him, sprinted to the middle of the field, gave it to the ref, boom, let's roll. And then Chase Claypool, obviously, he wants to put a TikTok together before he gives up the ball.
Young blood's got a lot to learn.
Final thoughts there, though. Crazy week in the NFL. For some reason, the Seahawks and the Falcons are still in the playoff hunt. What a weird year. Also, Mike McCarthy, he guaranteed a dub. They showed up. And
when you bring your own benches, that is the most swagger move I've ever seen in my life. And at that moment, I knew they're winning.
And then one of the toughest beats of all time was Browns not covering -2.5. That was brutal. But right now, we're going to bring Annie in. We're going to talk about the Heisman Trophy ceremony, talk a little bit of college football playoff. Annie, you there? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, living the dream.
Happy to be on the show.
Happy to have you.
All right. Well, I love the Michigan hat because we were bringing up earlier. You are a University of Michigan grad, and how the heck are you feeling right now? Because it's been a tough few years for you guys.
It's been a tough 10 years for me as a Michigan football fan. I always joke because my sister, I actually grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay. So, but my dad's from Detroit. So we always kind of grew up watching Michigan football games. And so I decided to follow my dad's footsteps. And then my younger sister, who lives in Tampa with me now, she decides to go to Ohio State. And so every single year, it's a big rivalry in our family. But, I mean, it really hasn't been because Ohio State has won so many years in a row. But this year, we finally won. So it's great to be a Michigan football fan this time around. And we're looking forward to New Year's Eve. Should be fun.
It's going to be a blast. So what do those family gatherings look like now? You got Ohio State versus Michigan. Because I know a lot of family gatherings, they can be divided over politics this time. But now you got you two. Are you guys at least cordial?
We are cordial. I think I'm a bit more of a diehard football fan than my younger sister is, not to slight her in any way, because I know she loves Ohio State. But my dad and I are diehard football fans. And my mom usually takes my sister's side just so she's not completely in the corner crying by herself. Because my younger sister, actually, I have two sisters. My youngest sister, I should say, she's kind of on the Michigan bandwagon. So it's truly 4 against 1. So my mom kind of switches sides, and so it's 3 against 2.
All right, so let's dive into this. And so also, too, congratulations on getting married. I know
Thank you.
That was amazing. So what's the last name now? Because I was totally like, oh, my gosh, I'm so used to being Annie Sobo. What's the last name now, Annie?
Sabo. I'm going to correct you there. But
Sabo, there we go.
I changed it. Well, I'm in the process of changing it, which takes months and months. But I'm going to stick with Sabo on TV pretty much until forever. But yeah, got to change it in real life.
I love it. Well, congratulations again. I want to get your take on the Heisman Trophy ceremony because I think they did a great job. It was fun having Tim Tebow there, Desmond Howard, RG3, and I think they brought just kind of like a personality and a humor to it because I love those Nissan commercials too. You have the Heisman house, and then when you have all of them there kind of just throwing subtle jabs at Ohio State, and I think it made it really fun. What was your reaction to the whole ceremony?
I personally loved it. I know a lot of people on social media were offended by some of the jabs, but I mean, it's the world we're living in. I'm not surprised everyone's offended by everything,
Of
but I
course.
thought it was a wonderful ceremony. I thought Bryce Young was a wonderful speaker as well. Although my only complaint is that in the Heisman voting finale, I thought the votes for Young were just so skewed. He won by such a large amount. It just kind of raises some question marks in my head. Not to say that he's not deserving of the award, because he totally is, but I thought the other finalists were just as deserving. That's my personal take. But the ceremony was great. I loved having all the guys back, and yeah, having some fun at an Ohio State guy. And I thought the interviews with the family members were so heartwarming and fun to watch. So I thought this ceremony was probably one of the better ones that I remember in recent years.
Yeah, I think so too, and especially when you have someone like Bryce Young that's able to jump in there, talk about his faith, and talk about how far he's come, and it's a lot of great stories there. It's something I was surprised about. I want to get your take on this as a Michigan grad. Was Aiden Hutchinson finishing at number 2? I actually did not expect him to finish at number 2. I actually expected him to finish last, just because he's a defensive player. He's had an incredible year.
I thought that Aiden Hutchinson, this isn't to take anything away from Bryce Young, but in a year where Alabama was actually a little bit worse than they normally are, I felt like Aiden Hutchinson was the best player in college football, best player overall. So I would, if I had a vote, I would have cast it for Hutchinson. But I'm not as slanted as you are, but that was my take on it.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I thought C.J. Stroud also had a phenomenal year, and I thought he should have been, closer towards the top, up there with Young. So that's my take. I thought Alabama did have a rather down year in Alabama terms, whatever that may mean. So yeah, I did think. I think Bryce Young totally deserving, and I'm so happy for him. And yeah, the shout out to his parents and God and everything. I thought was just so wonderful and refreshing to hear in 2021. So I was really happy for him. But I agree with you. I think Aiden Hutchinson is probably the best player in the country. I mean, we'll see come draft time who goes above who. I mean, I think Aiden Hutchinson is a #1 draft pick, as Jim Harbaugh said in the
I did want to ask you
ceremony.
that.
Yeah, so I totally agree with him there. I thought he was phenomenal. But again, I mean, you can't really blame the voters because a defensive guy getting the Heisman, I mean,
it hasn't happened since
you got to
Woodson.
go quarterback every single time, and I totally get that.
Yep.
And then let's talk about the college football playoff. You got your Michigan Wolverines taking on Georgia. Georgia just got a beat down from Alabama, which was shocking to me and pretty much the whole country, because Alabama was coming off a game where they looked like unbelievably inept on offense, and then Bryce Young did his thing. How are you feeling about Michigan going against Georgia in the Orange Bowl?
Right now, I think if Michigan plays their game and runs the football as well as they have all year long, I think they'll be okay. I do think Cade McNamara, Michigan starting quarterback, does need to, convert a few more first downs and throw the ball down the field a little bit more. And if they play their game and, do what they're capable of doing, I really like their chances. I know Georgia right now is 7.5 point favorites or so, but I just think they were totally exposed. SEC championship game against Alabama. I mean, did not look good at all. I mean, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. They could be out for revenge in this college football playoff against Michigan. But, I mean, all phases of the ball for them, I mean, didn't necessarily work out all that well. Their run game didn't look good. I mean, both defenses, phenomenal season long. So I think this could be a defensive battle come December 31st, which is always fun to watch too. I know SEC football fans like high scoring shootouts, but I mean, hey, I cover the Big Ten for a living. We're used to, 10 point football games here and there. So I'm liking Michigan's chances. I really am. I just hope it's a competitive game and it's not a blowout one way or another.
What's your final
Which I don't think it will be.
What's your final score prediction?
I'm going to go 24-21 Michigan.
Ooh.
I like that.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer just because they haven't been on this stage in quite a long time. But I think if they just keep on keeping on and play their game and take a couple more shots down the field, I think they'll be all right.
How do you think Aiden Hutchinson's going to perform? Because I think you go through a Heisman Trophy ceremony like that, and the emotions are high, and you're thinking about the NFL draft. Your coach just said you're probably going to go number one. You're saying it now. And everyone has this huge expectation now for him and the entire Michigan team. Do you think he's going to perform up to his standards?
I do. I think he's a guy that I don't know him personally and I haven't interviewed him, but I just think he's a guy that to me just seems so grounded and knows who he is as a football player and doesn't get a big head about anything. I mean, he could have had an inflated ego all season long, you know what I mean? But he continues to perform. He continues to, sack quarterbacks at just unreal levels. So no, I think he's going to go out there with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I know, defensive guys don't necessarily win the Heisman, but if I were him, I could guarantee that he stepped into that room, into that Heisman Trophy ceremony room, thinking that he was going to win that Heisman Trophy. And now that he hasn't won it, I think he's going to play with a little bit of added fire come New Year's Eve. And in all the interviews that I have seen with him, he, the job's not done for not only him but for this Michigan football team as well. So I think he's going to go out there with a little extra energy and fire. So the Georgia offensive line, watch out.
Yeah, and Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't get the chance to be there in the college football playoff. So this really is a unique opportunity for Aiden Hutchinson to go out there and cement himself as the number one overall pick. He gets to go out there on national television and show, hey, don't think about Kayvon Thibodeau. Don't think about Oregon. It's me. I'm the guy. And especially if it's going to be Detroit, it's like, hey, you should be picking me. And literally, he can make it be a no-doubt pick, in my opinion, over the course of the next few weeks.
Agreed, 100%. So, yeah, I'm expecting another big performance from him. He really has consistently performed all season long. So, for him not to perform in a big game on a huge stage like this, that would just be insane to me.
And then let's talk about the Cotton Bowl. Cincinnati, baby. It's been so fun to root for a team like Cincinnati because you think of like the UCFs out there, all these teams that you just want to get a shot in the college football playoff. And Cincinnati, obviously their strength of schedule, nothing like these other teams that are in the college football playoff, but they continued to win. That's what they did. So, and then they're taking on Alabama. Everyone says, we want Bama. Cincinnati, you got them. How do you think they're going to perform?
That's a little bit of a TBD for me because you mentioned the strength of schedule. I was kind of looking at Cincinnati's schedule. Yeah, they didn't really play that many, Power 5 teams and ranked teams in that regard. But they finished the season undefeated, which is there's something to be said about that. Exactly. However, you're going against Alabama, and that's a tall order, no doubt about it. Alabama obviously has the college football playoff experience on their side, but at the same time, I think Cincinnati also has an advantage because it's go out there with absolutely nothing to lose. All the stops, pull out all your trick plays, do whatever you have to do to go out and knock off Alabama, which would be, a sight to see. I know I'm from Cincinnati. I have a lot of friends who went to Cincinnati, and they are just so excited to see what happens come New Year's Eve. And hey, I think it's so fun for college football overall. You're not seeing a Clemson, right? You're not seeing Ohio State playing Alabama. You're seeing Cincinnati play Alabama. So I'm not entirely sure how they're going to fare against Alabama just because Alabama has the experience and they face tougher teams all season long and coming off just a blowout performance against Georgia in the SEC championship game. And they have a Heisman Trophy award winner on their side. So I don't think Cincinnati is going to have the greatest of chances, but hey, I hope I'm wrong in saying that because it would be great to see Cincinnati knock off a football powerhouse in Alabama.
And then final questions for you before we let you go. Thanks again, too, for jumping on here. It's great talking to someone that's from the Big Ten Network and in these conversations all the time. I think this game between Cincinnati and Alabama is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think, just like you said, Cincinnati's going to bust out all the stops. And you might as well. You got this chance, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are rooting for Cincinnati, but there's a lot of people randomly that I feel like have a soft spot for Alabama. For some reason, I feel like I have a soft spot for Alabama. And it's weird because usually you have like Patriots teams out there. Like you think of these big names and these big teams in any league, and I'm like, wow, I want them to lose. For some reason, I don't mind Alabama winning. Do you think it's going to be a shootout? And then also to tell us what you're doing now that you're married and you got a little bit of an off season, what that looks like.
I could see it being a shootout in favor of Alabama. I'm not entirely sure if it'll be a Cincinnati shootout because I think Alabama's defense is just that good. I hope I'm because a shootout would just be so much fun to watch between these two teams. So I don't know. I hope it will be. I just think Alabama's defense is just so good when they're on. But then again, we've shown them be weak at certain points this year, that a down year for Alabama, if you will. So I hope I'm wrong in that. And then as far as what I'm doing right now, I have a bowl game coming up. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell which one I'm doing, so I'm going to keep that under wraps. But I'm going to stay here in the state of Florida to cover one of the 2 bowl games going on New Year's Day. So that'll be really exciting. And then I'm just kind of enjoying having some downtime for the first time, I think, since I graduated college when I was 22 years old. I just turned 29. So I think the first time in 7 years where I actually don't necessarily have a plan or, have to be working crazy hours every single week. So I think I'm going to enjoy the holiday season, enjoy doing Christmas with my family and my husband, and do New Year's Eve football coverage. And then I guess we'll see. To be determined.
I love it. Well, thanks again so much for jumping on here. Congratulations on the marriage, by the way. And then I can't wait to find out what bowl game that you're going to be working, and have a great Christmas season. Thanks for breaking this down. Hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Annie. I love it. I love it. This is where this show is going to continue to just build. Because I want to have conversations with people like Annie. I want to have conversations with people in the sports media sphere. And someone like Annie, I know she followed me, that was maybe a couple months ago or so. And it's a lot of fun because I know Annie, we don't need to get into her conservatism. We can have a conversation. We don't need to get into the whole free state of Florida and all this stuff. And she can do little subtle jabs of everybody's offended on social media. But that's someone that is in the weeds of everything at the Big Ten, and we are looking forward to a lot of fun games. And I was this close to pulling the trigger on getting tickets for New Year's Eve, Barstool Arizona Bowl, Central Michigan against Boise State. But we're going to talk a little NBA before we bring in Terryn Gregson. So Terryn Gregson unfortunately got let go from the PGA Tour. She was a host, reporter, and producer because she didn't want to get the jab. She's pregnant. And we've seen a lot of these conversations. I know we have a podcast coming out with Terryn, talking to her about that. It's similar to the Allison Williams situation. But before we get into golf, bring in Terryn, the NBA. My guy, Steph Curry. I thought he was going to break the record. He was 10 away. I thought he was going to I thought he was going to shoot 21, 22 threes that game, and he only made three.
He made 3, attempted 14. Well, look, they did not want – no team likes for records to be broken being played against, And so they went out there and they specifically went out with the mindset of, hey, we're going to stop Steph Curry. And the 76ers, and I didn't mention that. They were playing the 76ers. 76ers have some really, really good perimeter defenders. I mean, for one, while I don't think he's an elite perimeter defender, they got Seth Curry, that is his brother. So if there's any time that Seth Curry's going to go all out on playing defense, it's going to be if he's playing Steph.
That's where I thought this would be an incredible moment. It's Seth against Steph, 10 threes away, just go out guns blazing, just shoot it from half court, shoot it from the logo, let's roll. And then at the end of the game, you could have probably Dell out there, the rest of the family. Yeah. But, sometimes everything's not a storybook end.
Well, and, I really think the Sixers said, And then you got into the point where it wasn't just that, hey, let's go for the record. But the Golden State Warriors ended up losing that game. So we got to the point where Steph had to...
Didn't score 100 points for the, I think, second time
Only
this
second
season.
time. Yeah. Steph basically had to put his own ego aside. The man is the best teammate I think we've seen in the last 10 years of the NBA. Very little ego and always a team-first guy. And so I think he had to forget the record, and he started playing to try to get them on track to win, and they couldn't do it.
I know we could dive into that whole conversation of who makes people better, who's the best teammate. I think Steph Curry is 100% up there. So when you put him with the likes of James Harden, I don't think James Harden's the best teammate.
He drives guys nuts.
He does. and he's an incredible individual player. And I'm glad that they've changed the rules now that like you can't flop around and then get 700 free throws a game.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. KD, I think KD's a good teammate, but I don't know how much of a real leader he is.
He's got that stuff inside where he gets offended by stuff and he takes things personally. I mean, look, he would still be playing in Golden State if he didn't want to have like his own team. Steph went out there and convinced, with the other Golden State Warriors, convinced KD to go to Golden State because he went, I don't care about sharing the spotlight. I just want to win championships. Whereas KD wanted to have his own team, and he wanted to put it together and be the orchestrator. And the Nets are good, but I don't think it's working out.
And then we talk about someone like LeBron. I don't think LeBron's the best teammate either. I think there is an aspect of LeBron can make people better, and he has. But he's been such a freak athlete that – do you remember his first NBA Finals appearance?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
that was one of the worst rosters to ever make an NBA final, and LeBron was the only good player on that team.
Yeah, John, something you'll learn about me is you can't bring up that finals championship with me because it was the Cavs versus the Spurs. They got swept, and that was the year that the Western Conference Finals was Spurs versus Suns. Not only was Amari Stoudemire wrongly suspended for a game for coming on, literally taking a step on the court after Robert Horry physically shoved Steve Nash, and so it was complete BS. But on top of that, the FBI later arrested one of the refs for cheating on games and fixing games, and so that disgusts me because Phoenix Suns would have gone up against the Cavs and won it, and so the whole thing just makes me sick to this day.
What fix was worse, that one or Kings Lakers?
Oh, that was bad.
I think 100% Kings Lakers. I remember I moved up to Sacramento. I was born in the Bay Area in Walnut Creek, California, right outside of Oakland, and then I moved up to Sacramento. And the early 2000s, man, those Kings teams were so fun, and they had an incredible rivalry against the Lakers, but they got screwed out of that.
Another fix a lot of people don't talk about as much is the 2005 finals of Mavs versus Heat.
Ooh.
You look at how many times those refs sent Dwayne Wade to the line on ticky-tacky calls. It was disgusting. I really think, and when I put my tinfoil cap and my conspiracy theory cap, I really think they wanted to hand Shaq another championship for the fact of it was kind of a promised thing of, hey, leave the Lakers and we'll take care of you. But I can't get into that stuff. It makes me pisses me off.
We could have a full conspiracy podcast.
Oh, I could go deep on stuff.
Oh, man, it would be fun. So Steph Curry, he's 7 threes away from breaking that record. Ray Allen, I know Ray Allen said, hey, as of right now, I think in some circumstances, in some discussions, I will be remembered as the greatest shooter of all time. I don't think so, Ray.
No.
Ray, I maybe understand where he's coming from, but I think he's had more clutch threes than Steph has. For some reason, Steph he hasn't had a lot of those big moments like Ray Allen has. Like, obviously, he had that playoff performance that, kicked out and then Ray hit it. And that's legendary. Do you think Steph Curry breaks it tonight against the Pacers?
Yeah, absolutely. The Pacers aren't really built to stop Steph Curry. I mean, Brogdon could. He's kind of long, so he could do a little bit of work against him. They got Torrey Craig, who they could sick on Steph Curry, but no, I think he'll step up. I mean, 7's really different from 10 too. I mean, it's still really hard to hit 7 threes in a game, but like you said, I kind of expect him to. I think he'll attempt 21. That's my prediction. I think he ends up attempting 21 threes tonight.
Because I think Steph and the Warriors just want to get this out of the way.
Yep.
Obviously, the way Steph and the Warriors run, they just want to win ball games. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do, but I think they just want to get this behind them. And another thing, too, KD. Speaking of KD, he went off last night. 51 points. Most points he scored as a Brooklyn Net. They beat the Detroit Pistons 116-104. And that was actually, producer Angela back there telling us that's an NBA season high.
Just wait. Devin Booker's not fully healthy yet.
So,
we'll see.
Just wait for tonight. Steph's going off for 100. He's shooting 100 shots. He's gonna pull a Kobe. That's what he's going to do. Kate, something about the Nets, though. They will not win a championship without Kyrie Irving. They can't do it.
No. One of the problems with the Nets is you kind of have to start thinking about, even though they have a really good win-loss record, it kind of feels like nobody's really scared of them right now. And so you kind of think, without Kyrie Irving, what moves can they make? They don't have a ton of assets. They let Spencer Dinwiddie walk out the door. I guess Bruce Brown maybe. I mean, I guess maybe you can deal Joe Harris and his $20 million, $17 million, however much he's making a year, deal that contract and try to bring in and shake some things up. But they are relying way too much on LaMarcus Aldridge. When LaMarcus Aldridge is essentially your third best player at the stage he is in his career, because obviously Pacers Aldridge was unreal. That's a problem, because you compare that to teams like the Warriors or like the Suns, like obviously, my hometown Suns. I think about it where I go, we have two players better easily. Man, honestly, we probably have 5 players better than LaMarcus Aldridge. If it came down to a Nets Suns or a Nets Warriors, the teams don't match up. I mean, KD might end up being the best player on the court, but the depth is going to kill them.
Well, they can win games just based on talent alone, no doubt. But if you're going to play a full series, I don't trust them at all.
No.
And if you don't have someone like Kyrie Irving, calm, cool, and collected, someone that can facilitate like he can, you're not going to win a championship. That ain't going to happen. A couple more things in the NBA. My goodness, Chicago Bulls, they got a little debacle they're dealing with.
It's wild.
9 players in COVID protocols. 9 players. And I know Adrian Wojnarowski, he had a little breakdown of this because everybody's trying to figure out exactly, what's going on here? Are they going to be able to play these games at all? And then Woj broke it down. I know that's right behind me here for people watching, everybody listening. This is what it says. Under league rules, the Bulls need to have 8 eligible players against the Pistons tomorrow, so Tuesday. There have been no COVID-related postponements in the NBA this season, but the Bulls' outbreak with Levine and Troy Brown, the latest, continues, and postponements could be an option. Dude, we're in December 2021. And we're trying to postpone games because we might have had some positive tests? What are we doing here? This is absolutely insane to me. And if honestly, at this point, just postpone the game. Just take a break and then push that off to next week or something. I don't know, like way later on in the season. It blows my mind that we're still dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, a basketball team really only rosters about 13 players. And so 9 in
what, are you going to bring up your whole
protocols?
G League team?
Yeah, like, I mean, you're going to need the Monstars to compete. Like, I mean, like, I don't know how you can even get around without postponing. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to, the NBA would have to let them essentially, bring up their entire G League team, which makes no sense because even against the Pistons, you'd get slaughtered if you're playing a bunch of G Leaguers. Mm-hmm. So no, just postpone the game and reschedule a couple things. It's not that hard to do.
So the Bulls are now without Levine, DeRozan, Kobe White, Jones Jr., Brown Jr., Dosunmu. Is that what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Dosunmu, yeah, whatever that guy's name. Javonte Green, Matt Thomas, Stanley Johnson.
Yeah.
Woof. And actually, we are going to tell you about Enes Kanter's new shoes, but not until later on in the show.
Yeah,
hopefully that's a good little cliffhanger because I do want to bring in Terryn Gregson here because Tiger is back, baby. Let's go.
It.
We got the PNC Championship that's coming up this weekend. Terryn, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys this morning? It's a good week when Tiger Woods is playing golf, isn't it?
Oh, I know.
Love it.
Because I know a lot of us just growing up in the 90s, Tiger was just the man. He was sports. His
run was unprecedented.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
He was an icon. So I think golf is better when Tiger is around in some sort of capacity. And for him to go through what he's gone through, talking about almost losing a leg, to now he's coming back for the PNC Championship and getting to play with his son, who has a better swing than I ever will in my entire life. How do you think the sports world and you and everybody that's been involved with golf for so long is reacting to this comeback?
I think a lot of people were surprised whenever the news started to surface about a week and a half ago that he was debating playing in this. He posted November 21st a video of him practicing, taking an easy swing. It was a full swing, but it was an easy swing. And of course, he had, a brace or a compression sleeve rather on his right leg when he was doing that. And that, of course, got everyone riled up that he was even posting videos of that. And then, we start to hear whispers that he might be playing in this for the second year in a row with Charlie. And then last week, we saw him at his Hero World Challenge, the event that he hosted. He didn't play, of course, but we were hearing that he was out there hitting balls almost every 4 of the 5 days, I think, that week. So Tiger, we all know how Tiger is. He, loves the game and he has overcome so much, but he also is put himself out there if he doesn't think he only comes to win or to play well. So he is, I'm assuming, very well prepared for this because Tiger doesn't play if he's not usually. So, and it's so neat to see him returning to golf since his February accident with his son, Charlie. We saw how much this lit him up last year when he did this with Charlie. And Tiger has said that he's not going to play a full schedule anymore moving forward, which, I mean, let's be honest, he really hasn't played a full schedule really ever, to be honest. He's always been very picky about what events he plays. But I think that this is really, we started to see a new phase of Tiger the last couple of years, but this is really what we're going to see from Tiger, playing in these events that mean a lot to him. And we know that his kids mean so much to him.
And it's fun to see. I know we have a podcast coming out. I definitely want to tease that a little bit. We had a great conversation about, what's your story right now, but we definitely got into a lot of nitty-gritty in golf. And once again, I think golf is better with Tiger Woods around, but we have seen the way golf has evolved, especially when you watch something like the Ryder Cup. Mm-hmm. You have the DeChambeau and Brooksy going back and forth, and you're bringing more personality to the game. And I think what we need is almost a handing off of the baton here with Tiger, just a final ride off into the sunset. And I'm glad that we're finally going to get that because there's been way too many awesome memories, big fist bumps with Tiger that we need another maybe signature performance or at least just a final goodbye for everybody. And I think him coming back and then maybe playing a few more times, we can get that and then move forward with some of the incredible golfers that we have now.
I think so too. And I think that we're really going to see him hand the stage over to Charlie this week. Yes, Tiger is playing in an event, but he's going to be able to be a lot more casual. He's not going to have to give it 150%, as Tiger normally does. And he's going to be able to let Charlie take the stage here, which we saw him do that last year. Charlie had a signature moment where he had an eagle, reached a par 5 and 2, and
that kid is so good
all himself. I know, it was spectacular. So Tiger didn't even have to really play that hole, and hopefully we'll see that happen some more. So it's going to be a very casual event for Tiger. And how much does America need a redemption story? I mean, that's what Tiger has basically been for the last latter half of his career, really. Yeah. He's a bionic man at this point. We've seen him come back from numerous surgeries and numerous incidences. And so now it's just one more chapter to his redemption story, which is what America needs right now in the sports world to be inspired in this way, considering everything that's happening out in the culture. Even in the golf world, you mentioned my story. I unfortunately don't work for the PGA Tour anymore because of their mandates. They have continued to part ways with employees over it. So there's very much a lot going on in the background of sports right now and of America right now. So Tiger being a beacon of hope is fun.
And that's what I love about stories like this, where Tiger has not been the best role model when it comes
No.
to life. But someone like Tiger, there can be a sense of grace. There can be a redemption story. There can be forgiveness. And, rightfully so, some people might not like Tiger still just because of stuff he's pulled in the past. But I think there has been a lot of grace and forgiveness inside of this, that it's a good story. It's a good comeback story. And I think it's how you finish is what matters.
Well, and also I think all of us can learn to compartmentalize, because whether or not, off the course stuff with Tiger, it's easy to root for greatness.
Yep.
And I think that's what Americans love Tiger, because Tiger's what brought golf to a lot of the younger fans, because golf always kind of felt like this old white man sport. And then Tiger went on this just absolutely dominant run. And after that, everyone was like, wow, no, I mean, they started playing the Tiger Xbox game and everything like that. And it became something that more young people could get around and actually enjoy. And I feel like Tiger was a massive part of that.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we let you go here, Terryn, is a couple things. If you're not following Terryn's podcast, you need to do that. So that is Faithful Freedom with Terryn Gregson. I got that right. Right, Terryn?
You did. Faithful Freedom. Mm-hmm.
And we have a great podcast coming out with you. I can't wait for that. I want to get your take, though, on the new world number one. So we talked about Tiger. Tiger was world number one, 98 through 03, and then 05 through 09, and then he found his way back in 2013. But now we got a brand new number one, Jon Rahm, Arizona State guy. What do you think about Jon Rahm being number one?
Yeah, hails from your stomping grounds out there. Jon Rahm is undoubtedly the best player in the world right now. I think that he has shown that on multiple occasions. And he probably would have gotten there even quicker if he would have been allowed to finish out his dominant performance at the Memorial.
That was unbelievable.
Even play in the Olympics too. Wasn't allowed to do that as well because of false positive COVID tests. So yeah, I think that he is undoubtedly the world number one right now. And he's talk about personalities and people that make golf exciting. I mean, this guy's got all kinds of fire and
he's kind of a punk too. I feel like that's why it's fun, because someone like Jon Rahm, he's almost just got this resting blank face at times. But he's one of those people where it's like, I'm out here to play golf. I'm out here to dominate. And I'll tell you something, you might not like it, but I'm going to back it up with my play. And he's kind of like the punk of the PGA Tour. It's kind of fun.
It is. And his story is incredible. And he's given us bits and pieces of his personal backstory throughout the past couple of years. He's kind of revealed a little bit more of himself to the public, revealed at the Open Championship this past year that he was born with a clubbed foot. So he's overcome that. That's why he has such a short swing, is because of that he was born with. I mean, he came over to Arizona State from Spain, didn't know any English, and pretty much learned how to speak the language by listening to rap music and watching TV. And now
that's why he is the way he is.
Yeah. And now he's like one of the most insightful interviews that you can have. He always gives great answers. He's always, very thoughtful, and he's a great personality. And he seems so wise. You see this a lot in these golfers that are so young that are very successful right off the bat, which he has been. They just have a sort of wisdom and maturity to them that you don't expect from someone in their young 20s. We forget, how young he is. And here he went off and, rattled off a US Open this year, and he's just playing dominant golf.
Yeah, it's very, very fun to watch. But Terryn, thanks so much for jumping on here. And we're going to go to you constantly for golf stuff. I love having conversations. I love that Tiger's back. But have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us, Terryn.
Hey, anytime. I'm happy to jump on. You guys are great.
All right, we'll see you later. All right, Terryn. Oh, I love talking with Terryn.
Oh, yeah.
She's got a great heart. She's so insightful when it comes to golf, and she is going to be another friend of the program.
Absolutely. And what's that podcast again?
So the podcast, once again, that Terryn's got is called Faithful Freedom with Terryn Gregson. in my podcast with her going one-on-one, it is so sad to see how many incredible media members are being let go because of this stuff. And we get into a lot of it. I'm not going to get into it here, but people like that, we need more Terryns. We need more Allison Williams. We need more Annies. And people keep getting let go, and it has nothing to do with their skill set. She did a fantastic job with the PGA Tour. She worked for them like little less than a decade and did a lot of really good stuff. But as we wrap up the show here, once again, it's always great joining you, Brian Farnsworth, and all you guys tuning in live. Everybody, shout out to everybody in the back room there, all the producers. You guys are awesome. Dominic, Angelo, Anthony, love you guys. Let's talk about Enes Kanter Freedom. Enes Kanter Freedom. So he's got some new shoes. We're going to show that up there on the screen. He's always got a fresh pair of kicks. There's some of them there. And he tweeted this out yesterday. So many people live under brutal dictatorships with no freedoms. China, Russia, Turkey, where he's from, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Iran, Syria. He can go on and on and on. If we want peace, we cannot stay silent about these cultish regimes and ruthless dictators. Silence is violence. Hashtag freedom shoes. Hashtag stomp on tyranny. I will say one thing. The silence is violence thing. I don't really agree with that.
Yeah.
That whole movement right now where it's like you've had so many people, a lot of social justice stuff where it's like, oh man, why aren't you saying anything about this? And if you're silent about it, you're complicit somehow. But if you do speak up, I only want you to say this specific thing. And that's not what Enes is saying here.
No,
I don't think that at all. You've seen a lot of that, what I just brought up, these social justice warrior jamokes out there. But he continues to talk about not only China and call out Nike, LeBron, he talked about MJ, talked about Phil Knight, and now he's saying, hey, I'm going to stand up for Taiwan, and I'm going to talk about the atrocities that are going on across the entire world. And he's making a big difference. If you talk about a guy that's actually making some change, some social change for the better, it's Enes Kanter Freedom, always.
Yeah, I mean, he's constantly trending over this stuff. He's really building an actual dialogue and discussion because he's literally forcing the issue to be talked about. You can't escape it. Whether people are mocking him or agreeing with him, it's being talked about. It's like, any publicity is good publicity. But to kind of reference what you're saying about the silence of violence, because, I agree with you. I don't love that phrase, but I agree that I believe Enes Kanter is more tapping into the Sir Edmund Burke style of it, where Sir Edmund Burke had the very famous quote of the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. I think that's
you sound very studious right now.
Oh, a lot of the Charlie Kirk show, got to listen to that and got to, stay up.
Maybe that's just the aura we feel here when we're at this podcast desk. We're just like, wow,
this desk.
Charlie Kirk. I feel so much smarter just being here. But keep going. Sorry.
No, I feel like Enes has gotten to the point where he feels like I can't stay silent. I have to do something, and so that's what I think he's tapping into when he says silence and violence. I think he's talking about more about himself. He can't stay silent on it,
and I'm glad that he keeps bringing this stuff up. It's making a difference. He's also one of those guys that's bridging a lot of gaps. Look at Enes Kanter Freedom. He's not just going on Fox News. He's going on CNN as well. He's bridging those gaps, and obviously CNN, they need some help. They're trying to do whatever they can to get their ratings up, but this is a sports show.
Yeah, Chris Wallace isn't going to do it.
Nope, that ain't going to do it, baby. Before we go, Monday Night Football. Let's go. I'm going to be watching the Manning cast again.
Oh, of course.
It's amazing. Did you hear that? I think Amazon is trying to buy the rights to the Manning cast.
Oh, wow.
Would
ESPN really sell it? Man, that's crazy.
I don't know. And I really don't know. I haven't done a lot of research into what that contract looks like.
That's true.
We got your Arizona Cardinals taking on the LA Rams. How you feeling about tonight?
Feeling good because of the fact that it's a home game. Obviously, earlier in the season, when a lot of people were, I think the Rams were the number one ranked team at that point, in power rankings by most websites. Arizona went into LA and absolutely punched them in the mouth, and that was the first where people started talking about like, oh my gosh, wait, is this Arizona team good? So tonight, our team is finally healthy again. Obviously, last week we had Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins back on the field, and they picked up right where they left off. Kyler Murray tossing a touchdown pass to Hopkins. We're going to need that magic tonight because the Rams are going to come into it knowing if they have any chance of winning this division, tonight is the night. They have to get a win.
That's why I think tonight is unbelievably dangerous for the Arizona Cardinals. You
Yes.
have a Rams team. This is their turning point for good or bad. Pun intended. I'll say that over here. They beat the Jaguars. They beat the brakes off them. 37-7, whatever.
Yeah.
That's blah. But they lost to the Packers by a touchdown. They got smoked by the 49ers. They lost to the Titans. And they're floundering.
Desperate.
They need this win. Also, Matt Stafford, I'm trying to remember what the stat was, but I don't think he's beaten a team that has at least 5 games over 500 in his entire career. And obviously he was playing for the Detroit Lions for a long time, so it doesn't
They had
help.
a couple good years though, like where he had Megatron and whatnot. Like it's not like they were always what they are this year.
But the Rams need to win. Matt Stafford,
Desperate.
he is dealing with so many injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he is one of the toughest guys that has ever
Absolutely.
played the quarterback position.
I love Matt Stafford.
Yeah. Everybody should love and respect the guy. Go back and look at some of the stuff he dealt with in Detroit. He is a gritty, tough, good leader, but he needs to show up tonight. They need to, and I think the Cardinals are still going to get the dub, especially since they're playing at home. But they're going to play a Rams team that is going to come out firing like they never have. You have OBJ that feels a little bit better about himself. Mr. Hollywood now, he gets a big touchdown pass. And, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, all these guys, they're going to come out firing, and they have to win or else they're donezo.
Yeah, no, well, and speaking of Matt Stafford, I think who, even more than the Rams need Stafford to win, who needs Stafford to win this week is Dan Orlovsky. Former NFL quarterback turned commentator. He went on First Take this week, and he said that he would take as QB1 Matt Stafford over Kyler Murray. So that man, to save his career, needs Matt Stafford to go off because I don't know what Dan Orlovsky is smoking, but Kyler Murray has been a much better quarterback than, granted, he's been injured a little bit, but when he's been on the field, he's been a much better quarterback than Matt Stafford. Obviously, they played each other once, and Kyler Murray was tossing dimes and absolute burners, whereas Matt Stafford was throwing interceptions. So, I get it. Orlovsky played for the Detroit Lions, so maybe he's got, a little soft spot in his heart for Matt Stafford, but the Rams and Matt Stafford need to get a win so Dan Orlovsky doesn't look like an absolute moron. I love Matt.
You're going to hate me for this. I think there's some truth to what he said.
Oh, come on.
I think there's definitely some truth where Matt Stafford, I think a lot of people, the Rams been floundering a little bit, and it's been tough. But I think if we're going to put a specific scenario, let's just pretend that they're the same age. They both come out of college at the same time. Kyler decides that he's not going to play for the Oakland A's. Come on, Kyler. I will always hold that against him. But obviously you made a good choice. Let's just pretend they both come out of college at the same time. Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray. I could see a little bit about what Orlovsky's saying here because Matt Stafford, you put him on because there's so many different variables here that Kyler got put into a way better situation than Matt Stafford did. And Matt Stafford, people finally got to see what Matt Stafford is really made out of once he joined the Rams. So I wouldn't say 10. I wouldn't say, hey, if I had a choice between Kyler Murray and Matt Stafford, that people should pick Kyler Murray 10 times out of 10.
Okay, look, this year, right now, going into Week 14, the Rams are 8-4 with Matt Stafford. Do you know what the record was last year going into Week 14 with Jared Goff? 8-4. So honestly, right now, he's looking like fancy Jared Goff. And like I said, I love Matt Stafford. But what Kyler Murray is doing with the Cardinals right now, I don't care about, is he, if they were the same age or blah, blah, blah. No. Right now, Kyler Murray is QB1, and I
like
can't
that
accept
that part of the conversation. I'd be like, yes, like just right now,
Yeah.
right now as it is, yes, you got to go Kyler Murray. But I think if we're gonna try to make it as even as humanly possible, I can somewhat understand what Dan Orlovsky's saying, but what it basically comes down to is he needs Matt Stafford to win tonight. He needs it bad. And what we need you to do is make sure you continue to follow the Breakaway podcast. If you haven't subscribed, if you haven't left a review, please do that. Thank you to everyone that's left reviews on the podcast. I think the audience is continuing to grow. This is a lot of fun. This is a great day, and it's going to be an amazing week because we got some big games tonight. I mean, college basketball's in full swing too. Last couple things. Connor Williams. Did you see him? Barstool posted about that guy, like 7-footer. That's 360 pounds.
Oh, the big dude?
Bro. That's a big boy. He's a legend.
Talk about the peak male form.
Dude, look him up. But we got, once again, we got America Fest this week. If you haven't gotten tickets already and you want to just come party with us out here in Phoenix, Arizona, go to the Phoenix Convention Center, listen to some of the biggest speakers in the conservative movement, meet some of the greatest athletes of all time, one of the best punters ever. I love Steve Weatherford.
We love special teams on Breakaway.
Oh, I love special. I got a soft spot in my heart. I was John Ruth the Booth, baby. That's what I've been. I love kicking. That's what I do. But get tickets. You can go to tvusa.com/AmericaFest. Use promo code John for 25% off. Once again, we got Super Bowl champion Steve Weatherford's going to be there, Michael Chandler, Cameron Haynes, and so many more people. I can't wait for that panel, too. Thanks for shouting that out a little bit.
It's going to be great.
And I can't wait to see the Cardinals get another dub. Because they're going to do. So, actually, final score prediction, and then let's get the heck out of here.
27-24. I think the defense
you think it's going to be that close?
I think it'll be that close. Like I said, the Rams are desperate, but I'm going Cardinals here.
All right, I'm going to go 31-24 Cards. They're going to score a lot. That's what they do, baby. But, hey, this has been a lot of fun. Once again, thank you so much to Annie Sobo jumping in. She's not changing the last name. She's sticking with it. I respect that.
She's got a brand.
Let's go. She's got that brand. That was a lot of fun. I can't wait for the college football playoff. A lot of great games coming up. And then also thank you so much to Terryn Gregson. We got some friends of the program. They're going to keep joining us week after week. We're going to talk golf, NBA, NFL, all this good stuff. Brian Farnsworth, thanks for the memories. Everybody, thank you. Once again, don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, and also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at TPUSA Breakaway. A lot of great content coming from you and coming from us to you. Adios, guys. Bye-bye.